Who told you to touch that? The voice was sharp, slicing through the hangersham of tools and chatter. Staff Sergeant Clare Reynolds didn't even look up. Hans moved in smooth, precise circle sacris, the Apache's 30mm chain gun, oil and cloth, working in perfect rhythm. Had done this hundreds of times, but when the shadow fell across her, she glanced sideways only to see a young pilot standing there, his eyes locked on her arm. No, not her arm, her unit patch. Before we move further into this history, let us know in the comments where area you're watching from. We'd love to hear. Let's dive in. For a moment his jaw hung open, then he stepped closer, lowering his voice as if speaking to a ghost. He wanted to know where she had gotten that patch. Claire's eyes narrowed, and she answered simply, "Earned it." Same as anyone else. But pilot, Lieutenant Mark Ellison, shook his head in disbelief. No, he murmured. That's impossible. The air in the hangar seemed to tighten. A couple of mechanics glanced over, sensing something was off. Claire kept their composure, but her chest felt tight. She had been here before. The doubt, the raised eyebrows. The unspoken "you don't belong here." 2 years earlier, she had been deployed to a remote forward operating base overseas. She wasn't Apolot, wasn't even in combat arms, at least not officially. She was maintenance, the one who made sure T-birds came back in one piece. But one night, the call came in. A medevac was down, pinned by enemy fire. Every available asset had to be scrambled. Their Apache had a jammed gun. And the only person who knew how to clear it fast enough was Claire, so she went. No backup, no approval. Just a toolkit and her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Under the blaze of tracer fire, she climbed onto that gun, ripped out the jammed link, and got it firing again. The Apache shredded the ambush. Lives were saved. Then the dust settled. Command had a decision. Punish her for leaving the base without orders, or quietly acknowledge she had done what few could. They chose the latter, pinning on her a unit patch normal hour served for elite forward combat maintenance crews. Few outside that circle even recognized it. But apparently this young pilot did. Mark's voice dropped to a whisper as he said his father had worn that same patch. His father had never come back from his last mission, but according to the story Mark had grown up hearing, the only reason his bird even made it as far as it did was because of a crew chief who ran into the open to fix the gun under fire. Claire froze, her hand tightening on Therag. As Mark went on, he said his father always told him the bravest people in fight weren't the ones with their hands on the trigger. They were the ones who kept the trigger from jamming in Thaver's place. And in that moment, Clara knew. She told him it was her. That night, that gun, that bird. Mark blinked in disbelief. His voice breaking as he realized the woman standing before him was the reason his father in half. A convoy had been given a fighting chance. He stepped back as if the weight of the truth had hit him physically. The other crew members nearby pretended not to listen, but their sideways glance sprayed them. Mark shook his head and said he had trained his whole life to honor his father's memory. Never realizing the person who had given Histed that last chance was already here in Thies' hangar cleaning his gun. Claire gave a small, sad smile and told him they didn't do it for recognition. They didn't do it because every second mattered. Because out there it wasn't about rank, it was about survival. For the first time since entering the hangar, Mark stood at attention. Not out of protocol, but out of respect. He said he owed her more than he could ever repay. One off the other pilots, having caught enough off the exchange, walked over and extended a hand to Claire, telling her thought people like her kept them alive, and thought they saw her even if she didn't think they did. The mechanic stopped pretending to work and began clapping quietly, the sound echoing against the steel walls. Claire felt the weight off moment. She had spent years in the background, invisible, her work online and noticed when something broke. But now, standing in front of the son of the man she had once saved, she realized it's something. Sometimes the people you help never know your name. And sometimes fate brings them right back to you. Mark looked at the patch again, his eye shining, and told her that if his dad were here, he would say thank you. Claire swallowed the lump in her throat and told him to tell his father himself someday. Up there he'd have the best crew chief watching, His sixth applause grew louder, and for the first time in a long time, Claire let herself believe she deserved it. Heroes aren't always the ones in the cockpit. Sometimes they're the ones on the ground making sure the mission flies. If this story touched you, don't forget to like a video, subscribe to the channel, and let us know how you feel in the comments.